process.
Right.
hmm So that's a good point. And it's, I want to ask, I think one time someone in the computer industry told me that it is, no, I think that's with the television, but I wonder with the computer, is it better to allow it to turn it off each time after we use it? That'll be our question that that we'll find out. I'll find out the answer next Sunday. I will share. Should we turn off our computer every time we use it? I don't think you should turn off the television every time you use it, but I've noticed that the cable company will shut you down. Have you noticed that they stop feeding the signal? You go, even though you're still paying for it. That's interesting. But they say, "Are you watching, Mr. Lewis?" And they'll shut you down. Isn't that something? Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for logging in. We're talking some technology talk on this Kwanzaa morning. This is a beautiful, beautiful Sunday. We're about, I see. Can you see the sunrise? Who can see the sunrise? I see the sun coming behind some trees that I can see right there behind the camera. Good morning. I'm so thankful. Let's put this in our library. Let's put this in the history books. We're talking about 2021 and making our plans moving forward. We have a member in here that's 81 years old making plans for 2021. Can anybody beat that? It's not the end. It is indeed the beginning. We are so blessed to have this opportunity to make plans for 2021. Somebody didn't make it. We're honoring our queen that we have in here with us, Miss Getty, this morning. Yes, indeed, she's going into her 82nd year of empowerment. I met her about 20 years ago or more. She's been helping me. She would say, I help her. She's been helping me grow as a person. You want to know about how to make plans? You want to know about how to move forward? Find a queen or king that has been making it, progressing, moving forward, keeping it moving, and mentally astute and culturally connected, then you've really met something. We live in a society that is teaching us that we don't give as much honor to our those who are ahead of us, those who have paved the way on an everyday basis. Like, it's easy during Black History Month to just, oh wow, this person did that, this person. But do you know that the majority of the people who have made it possible for me to share and for you to have the position and the jobs that you have, you don't know? They didn't make headlines. Think about the people in our movement, the ancestors that we have who you never met because the media, well, what did Gil Scott Heron say? He said that the revolution will not be televised. Our revolutionaries were not televised. They will not be televised. But we all need to realize how God has given us a responsibility to make plans, and we have a responsibility to make sure that we include God in our plans. Good morning. I have some microphones open. Don't hesitate. If your microphone is open, that you're a member of AfroEconomics, and I appreciate you making this opportunity possible. And I appreciate you logging in early enough for me to open up your microphone so that we can share. I want us to really continue to finish off this year and start 2021 with a more aggressive movement than ever. It's so easy to just stop and then say, well, you know what, next year I'm going to do this. But you know what? We got to make our plans today. I need you, the world needs you today to start thinking about the vision, about what's moving forward. For what do you want moving forward? What are the desires of your heart? Let's take a moment to meditate and pray on this. I pulled this prayer from Philippians chapter 1, verses 1 through 9. And it reads, "This letter is from Paul and Timothy, slaves of Jesus Christ. I'm writing to all of God's holy people in Philippi who belong to Jesus Christ, including the church leaders and deacons. May God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ give you grace and peace. Every time I think of you, I give thanks to my God. Whenever I pray, I make my requests for all of you my joy. For you have been my partners in spreading the good news about Christ from the time you first heard it until now. And I am certain that God will begin the good work within you, will continue his work until it is finally finished on the day when Jesus Christ returns. So it is right that I should feel as I do about all of you, for you have a special place in my heart. You share with me the special favor of God, both in my imprisonment and in defending and confirming the truth of the good news. God knows how much I love you and long for you with the tender, compassionate compassion of Christ Jesus. I pray that your love will overflow more and more, and that you will keep on growing in knowledge and understanding. For I want you to understand what really matters so that you may live pure and blameless lives until the day of Christ's return. May you always be filled with the fruit of your salvation, the righteous character produced in your life by Jesus Christ, for this will bring much glory and praise to God. Amen. Beautiful. Right from the word. Right from the word. That's Philippians chapter 1, verse 1 through 9. That we will have a life full of peace. I want that for us as we move forward into 2021. How to set God centered goals for 2021. Who wants to give me some feedback on what they think the first step in setting your goals for 2021 should be? What do you think? I know that's right. Go on and give me silence. What do you
Thinking
think
outside the box.
the first step should be, Ms. Baker?
Just one of them is thinking outside the box.
Thinking outside the box. I know
That,
that's right. Where
yeah,
did that
that's
box
what
come from anyway, huh?
that came to me in prayer, because it's like, okay, just
Mm,
some of the things that might have been pressing. Well, not. uh, I'm speaking for myself.
that's right.
That might have been,
That's right.
actually probably some of the challenges.
Hmm.
And God has gotten me through it in 2020. So now it's time for me to press and just knock everything out the box.
That's right.
Get it on out the way. Knock it out.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking. But I
Mm-hmm.
love that one word, which is not number one. Key thing Ms. Baker said that you prayed on it. So I say first that we have to pray, right? Pray about developing these God-centered goals for 2021. Our first step is you pray. In James chapter 4, verses 13 through 15, it says, "Now listen, you who say today or tomorrow you will go to this or that city, spend a year there, carry on business, and make money. Why? You do not even know what will happen tomorrow. What is your life? You are a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes. Instead, you ought to say, if it is Lord's will, we will live and do this or that." Isn't it true? I mean, if it is God's will, if it is God's will, and then we say, God willing. Y'all heard people say that? God willing. God willing. I'm going to do this. That is everything. Pray, we can make all our plans we want, but it is by God's will that we will, when our goals are in agreement with God, he has promised, you know what I'm saying? That it will happen. if we stay the course. So, reliance on the Spirit of God will enable us to see things in ways that we hadn't considered before. Oh, Miss Baker, how about that, right? That's like reading from my notes. And what'd you say?
I
Outside the box.
agree. I totally agree.
Will enable you to see things in ways you have not considered. Look, right? And in corporate America, thinking outside the box. That's God. It will help to soothe the feelings of failure or shame that you may experience when you think about the past, but God will just get that all out. Like all of the negativity that we see posted in social media about, 2020. I mean, who are we that have survived 2020 to complain about it? Mm, right? We should actually be encouraged and thankful that we were able to do something that to other people was straight impossible. What? Right? You have
Mhm.
Miss Getty who's on here as a statistical anomaly. When it first came out, you know what I mean? They said, oh, yeah, get her. You know, black, senior. Yeah, we're going to get her. And she made it through. And she made it through. COVID, by the grace of God, did not catch her. Nothing is impossible with God. That's in Luke chapter 1, verse 37. Nothing is impossible with God. So as we make our plans, our goal setting with God, we have to realize that it should be long, not I want to be debt free. It should be long. Just go on and on. Think about a second point I want to encourage us is to think about the results that we want to see. Take a closer look at what you want to achieve. Because in Proverbs chapter 21, it says, good planning and hard work lead to prosperity, but hasty shortcuts lead to poverty. And as Janai quoted me the other day, she said, "Do you know what, JB? It's so true. And I know what you say. Nobody is broke by accident. Isn't that something? You have to make a plan to be broke. It takes a lot of effort to be broke. When I used to be a lot heavier than I am today, I used to say it takes a lot of effort to be this big. I mean, and it really did. Like, I had to spend a lot of time. Now, the younger you are, like, like nowadays, it don't take a lot of effort. It does not take a lot of effort to gain weight. And the older you get, you will realize. But when you're younger, it takes a lot of effort. You got to really eat and take a lot of time to eat to get, you know what I mean? Big, 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 big. That's some planning. So wherever we put our effort in, have you seen that? When people wake up and if they're on the, even if you're a bodybuilder or something, you on the weight gain regimen, your muscle building regimen, you got to do some serious planning. They have to stack up their food. They have to, you know, anything that you want to accomplish or have accomplished or wherever you are, it's not by accident. That was the plan or lack thereof. Y'all feel me on that?
Yes.
Yeah. We are where we are today represents our intention. Miss Getty is not here at 82, almost 82, going into 82 by accident. You got to have an intention. You have to have an intention to go through everything that we go through. We complaining and we ain't get there yet. We don't have that. We don't have really that right. You know, we got to do some good planning. We still want to be here healthy with a sound mind, skipping around at 82. We got to do some good planning and some hard work. to lead to prosperity. The word has promised us that in top 21, verse 5. And prosperity is so much bigger than money because shortcuts will mess you up. Mm. And my third point is that in creating these God centered goals, it's going to involve, like, EK, you can acknowledge whatever you've been through, but you got to really spend your effort on moving forward. Because in Philippians chapter 3, verses 13 and 14, it says, brothers and sisters, I do not consider myself yet to have taken hold of it, what you're trying to accomplish. But one thing I do, forgetting what is behind, forgetting what is behind, and straining towards what is ahead. I press on toward the goal to win the prize for which God has called me heavenward in Christ Jesus. Forgetting what is behind and straining, not just walking. That word is straining toward what is ahead. So the promise, when you're working in God's will and God's goals for you, he didn't promise that it would be easy. I need y'all to feel me on this. Like we think, oh, well, I didn't accomplish that because, it must not be God's will. Y'all heard that before? Look, I wanted to put my little thank you up there. I don't know how I hit that. Have y'all heard that before? You go, oh, well, if God wanted me to have it, it would have been easier. Have you heard someone say that?
All the time.
Oh, hello. I guess that's just not for me. Let me go on and do what's easy. You know? And I'd be 80 pounds. I'd be back where I was, feeling bad every day. You know, I'd have debt all the way through the roof. You know what I'm saying? But I had to make a conscious effort that I wasn't going to stay there. I said, I don't want this. God doesn't want this for me. He promised me peace and health, abundance. He promised us all of that. Not not limiting, not limiting, not you know um always being unhappy. That's not God's will for you. Well, I guess I'll stay at this job cuz this guy wants me to be miserable. I know I don't like it here. So I'm not going to update my resume. I'm not going to make a plan to get additional skills. I'm not going to because it's not okay. No excuses. I don't see any excuses in the word. Woo! Strain toward what is ahead. Press on towards the goal to win the prize for which God has called on you to do. And the fourth point is to write down your goals. That your goals must match God's goals for our lives. If God's goals for our lives. But he said that it's going to take some effort. Peace is guaranteed when what you want and what God wants for you are in agreement, right? Exactly, right? So, like this I was listening to this minister and he was saying that all he ever wanted to do was get into the NFL. And so he just kept trying to do it and trying to do it and trying to do it. And I've seen so many men speak on that. If they felt like that's what God had for them. So they felt like their mission, their purpose was. But Dwayne Johnson, he was cut, The Rock, he was cut from the NFL. And then he became a wrestler. And then he's a huge superstar. Y'all know who that is? But he felt like I'm a loser. I have failed. This is it. Life's over for me. You know what I'm saying? For about a minute. And he would tell you he got himself together, shook that off, and went back at it. That's what we have to do. Like we may have like this plan, like we know this is what we're supposed to be doing. Like I thought, for sure that I was going to be on television. I was going to be like your evening news anchor. That was it. That's what I was going to be. And God had a totally different plan for me. Now he does. I am allowed to, God uses me, thank God. And I do things on television, but that wasn't the career that God chose for me. And I remember when it came to me and God was like, I want you to do this and you're going to help me. And I'm like, how I'm God there? God, I don't want to talk to people about money. I don't want to do that. And he was like, that's what I have for you to do. And then the strain began. But I am so thankful that I listened to him, that I didn't get caught up on this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. That I am so thankful that I found what God wants for me to do. And I continuously remain bring myself back. There's so many job offers, career opportunities that were taking me in a whole different direction, but I always had to turn them down and stay focused on God's purpose for me, even with the challenges that it presents, because I know that this is the cross that God has given me to carry. This is God's purpose over my life. And it may not always be that which is, paying you over the short term the most money, because there's a whole bunch of things that you could do for money, especially things that don't agree with God, a whole bunch of those things. But we know that will lead to a life of misery, disappointment. But when you're living and pursuing God's goal over your life, you will have peace. You will have peace because you're just confident. There's a peace that's in your heart that I know that this is God's will for me. And though it is challenging, I know that I'm on the right path. I know that God is carrying me. In Psalms 37, the um 37 verse 4 and 5, take delight in the Lord and he will give you the desires of your heart. Commit your way to the Lord, trust in him, and he will do this. Mm. So, as we're creating those God centered goals and leaving our past thoughts, disappointments, achievements, all of it behind, and moving forward, straining towards what is ahead for us, we can take delight that God will give us, his desire for us, and the desires of our heart when they're in his will. So it doesn't mean that we're going to always get everything that we want. But as we're living more in alignment with God's will for us, our desires in our heart will be adjusted because we'll want to live in alignment with God. Like when you're, not when you're not in alignment, you will focus on I gotta have that, I gotta have these things. Well, but as you grow closer and closer in your relationship with God, your goals and your desires will be more about the people you want to help, about the service that you want to provide. The fruitfulness of your life will become your most important, because you can have short-term profit but not have any fruit that you are leaving on the earth, no seeds that you're planting. Because remember, we want to plant seeds and grow trees that other people will enjoy the shade from, not just us. A fifth point is that the challenges, remember, in our goals and in achieving our goals, that the challenges that we face actually make it real. It makes it, it lets you know that this is the God's plan for you, because God is prepared for challenges in our life. Like he tells us that. The word says that you're going to face challenges. But are you ready? Are you ready for the challenges that God's plan is for you? Like, I believe that none of us are living at our full capacity. Do you believe that?
Yes.
I believe that, certainly.
Do you believe that each of us could do something that will impact history? We could do something, that each of us should live with a passion that we're doing something that we're willing to die for. Now, I remember earlier this year, it was a Father's Day, and I did a post, and it was about today's black man and a salute to black men, and a comment was one of the people who commented, because I shared it on social media. I ran it on some radio stations. When I put it on social media, it's open to everybody. And this man, in a very toxic space, he said she should be hung. And then there were comments about, black men don't even know who their children are. And, so now you're trying to say that they're good fathers. And, that, oh, it was terrible. The comments that I got from people about our black men and about me, you know, they said I should be killed for speaking so highly about black men. But the truth of the matter is, I am willing to die for my relationship with God. God put it in my heart to present our people in a positive and empowered light. AfroEconomics does not put us in a position of victims. It puts us in a position of we have the power of God within us. Let us live our lives accordingly. Mm. But we have to realize that the most simple things that we can do can have the greatest impact on the world. It was months later, after being brutally verbally attacked and, that way, nobody said nothing. You know, I was just going through Facebook, and I went into a minister's sermon that he was speaking, and he stopped what he was doing and he said, JB Bryan, thank you so much for the Father's Day presentation that you put on the radio station. That was the best Black man tribute that I've ever heard in my life. That was a blessing. So I think that we should realize that what we think we're just doing and nobody's noticing, and that what we're doing, we have to make sure that we're moving forward for God's sake, because the thought that that was going to happen, 6 months later after I did that, was, you know amazing. That's God. So we have to think about all of the people in the Bible. As I was saying when we opened up this morning, think about the impact that Miss Getty's life has had on my life, that she takes for granted, that she hasn't given up. The kindness that she showed to me very early in my career, that she believed in me enough to allow me to help her with her retirement goals. She didn't realize probably that God was using her. I know she was praying this little girl got some sense, but it was God. That was God that that opened her heart to me. But God was using her, something that she felt was a small act. I got to do this. You know what I mean? That it should be her, or you never know what could have gone through her heart, what she was feeling, what God told her, what words were going through. Help her. You know, allow her, she's going to help you, that, or she said, I got a feeling, I feel good about her. All of that is God, because we don't know. You think about um in the word where, like, Jesus was walking through and this lady touched him. Remember that? And he could feel it, that she touched his garment. And then he said, "Who was that? Who touched me?" Do you remember that story? You know, and I just think it's so beautiful. Like, when he was just like, he could feel it. He could feel her faith. He could feel like, that's the way we want God to know that we believe in his purpose over our life. And that the smallest thing, you don't know who you're touching. I was listening, a 50 Cent, 50 Cent, the rapper has a book that he has out. And I was listening to the book, and he has a section in the book, and he was saying how that the power of touch, and that if you touch a person between their forearm and their elbow, the impact that that can make, and to not to get in their personal space, but the touch, you know, that's from the Bible. He didn't give the Bible the reference, but the power of touch, that's biblical. The power. So in Second Chronicles, verse 15, chapter 15, verse 7, as for you, be strong and do not give up, for your work will be rewarded. You don't know how important you are. And if you do, I need to tell you that the sixth step is to make sure that you take action on that. Take action on what has been given to you. Have you ever, is anybody that has their mic open, please share with me. Have you ever felt that you had something to do but didn't feel quite capable of doing it? Like, I really feel that I have to do this. You have a problem with it, and you know that if you could do this, you would do it. Have you ever felt that way? Have you ever felt that if I could do this, or do you do everything that you're put here to do? Like, do you feel like, I'm doing everything I need to do? Tell me how you feel.
JB, I will share. I feel like there's a lot that I've been put here to do, but I've talked myself out of doing it for a long time.
Yes.
Since not feeling confident, not
Yes.
feeling that, I could overcome the challenges.
Yes.
So I
Yes.
have, but I think this year with your guidance and
Yes. Thank you,
commitment,
God. Thank
I
you,
see
God.
that there is things that I need to do and that I can do them.
Mm,
And I found peace with that.
mm. And you can, and then you'll sit there and you're doing it or starting to do it, and I know Miss Lewis, as well. Like, both of y'all names are Lewis. That's funny. In one way or another. With but you both know about that type of situation. Like, having that, and then once you take that step, right, Miss Barnes? Once you take that step on faith,
That's right.
then all of a sudden it starts pulling forward. And you go,
Amen.
wow,
That's right.
I have, to say
Amen.
that God just fills it in. He fills it in. And I
Yes.
remember, I mean, look at everything, but let's not, because we're instructed, don't spend a lot of time looking back. But can't we use the promise that he got us this far, that we go, you know what I mean? If we can use God to, you know what I mean? Keep us on mission the rest of the way. But it's
Yes.
somehow, it's so easy to just, I think I've done enough, because in many ways you have done enough. And many of you have done more than most. You have accomplished a lot on worldly terms. But God's vision is so much bigger for us. I really believe this. Mm. So it's like, if you have this vision, if you have this purpose, whatever it is, we have to take steps on it today. Do you need to throw away the cake that's in the refrigerator? Do we need to stop using the credit cards. Y'all like, no, she didn't go to the refrigerator. Do you need to, what do we need to update? Do you need to update the resume? Right? What do you need to do?
JB, I know what I need to do. I'm
What
just
do
not
you need?
motivated. I'm not motivated to do it. That's the problem. It's like
Hmm.
the things that you easily do, that's no problem. But the things that you need to do,
That's right.
and you're just not motivated to do it, that's the issue with me. The
That's right.
motivation. Yeah.
Those are the God things. Because see, we can get distracted from the God things by the world things. So it's like, I guess we should get to a point and we go, what would Jesus have me to do at this minute, through every minute of our life? And when we're not doing what God would have for us to do, then we know that's when we're wasting time. That's when you're out of alignment. That's when it's pulling you, in a whole different way. And you go, I can't believe that whole year went by and I didn't do this. I can't believe that whole year went by. Like we should have, we have to have a list of goals for this year that goes on for pages. I don't care how simple it is. The whatever. Take a walk. Do stop using the credit card. Just list them all, from not just financial stuff, because we know from AfroEconomics, we have to look at our life holistically. AfroEconomics has 10 principles, you know, and because all of these things impact our finances. You can't leave God out and think that your finances will be in order, in my opinion. That we have to use that power of God. We have to have that 10th principle also. God is the 5th principle. That the 10th principle is protecting your health and your wealth. Also, for God's sake, you know, everything that we do, we want to do it because this is a plan that God has for me. Take action. Take action. So in Proverbs chapter 6, verse 6 through 11, remember we did a Sunday about the ant? It says, go to the ant, O sluggard, observe its ways and be wise, which having no chief, officer, or ruler, prepares its food in the summer and gathers its provision in the harvest. How long will you lie down, O sluggard? When will you arise from your sleep, a little slumber, a little folding in the hands to rest? Your poverty will come in like a vagabond, and your need like an armed man. You won't get it. It will be kept from you. That's powerful, isn't it?
That is powerful.
Yes.
Like this ant is working, and it doesn't have to have a boss telling it what to do. True entrepreneur. Some people won't do anything unless somebody else is telling them what to do. You tell them, what, they won't even write down their goals. They think that somebody else should tell them what their goals should be. No, you decide what you want to do. Not your age, not your friends, not your spouse, not your, mate, nobody, not your children, not your parents. God tells us. God tells us. God allows us. And we take the actions through our faith. But seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. That's in Matthew chapter 6, verse 33. Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. That's all we got to answer to. So it doesn't even matter when they say that's ridiculous. You're too old for that. Why you gonna care about that? No, it's not. For a lot of us, as you're raising children and things, that could take you, especially, in our community, and you're doing it, overwhelming majority of us raise our children by ourselves. That takes 20 years from your life. And you're following God's will, parenting. all in, doing it God's way. That's 20 years. You get to the end of that, you know, it's time to say, okay, God, what's next? Because sometimes we can parent, and you always be a parent, but there's a point where the child deserves the opportunity to learn God's will for their life. They're an adult. Now it's time for you to be even more fruitful, more fruitful. You have more things to do. Don't use the children as an excuse. Don't use the grandchildren as an excuse. And then a seventh point is reevaluate and assess your, your progress. Like how, be accountable, as we call it in AfroEconomics, being organized and accountable. How do I go back? How did I do? And we're at that point of this year of 2020 because this is a time that we can say, like, these are the things that I finished. These are the things that I would like to move forward in the next year. Or you can also scratch off what doesn't have to be done or it was replaced by something else. But if we have this written out now, it's going to help so much. And if you don't have anything written down for 2020, then you can't really say it was a bad year or a good year. You're just thinking people are just talking about the pandemic. And the next time somebody says, oh, it was a bad year, like, say, and what is your basis for that? What is your basis for that? Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that is so easily entangles. And let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of faith. Mm, mm, mm. Right? Look,
Amen.
amen. I see you. I see what you're doing. I'm a witness. Surround yourself with people who believe in what you're doing with your life. I mean, I really do believe that sometimes you have the nicest people in the world, but they might not be the best people for you. Do any of you feel like that? Like you need to make some changes on on who you're spending your time with, what they're doing with their life. Like when you pick up the phone to talk to them, like are they in a bad place or a negative place? Because you need to like turn that conversation around. Like what is their plan for 2021? Do they have a plan? This is what we need to surround ourselves by. People on a mission. When you say, "Oh, that I'm going to do this workshop, with JB because I'm trying to, accomplish this and, get positive input all the time." And they're like, "Oh, well, that's crazy. Talk to you later. That's ridiculous. I'm broke and I'm always going to be broke." How sad is that? But I know that you see it way too often.
Well, I
What it is.
surround myself with positive people because that's the only way I can survive. And like the story you were telling about the woman that she impact your life. That's what I was trying to say when I was texting you the other day, how you impact my life, how you got me through 2020.
That's
You were, and you
beautiful.
didn't even know how you
That's right.
impact my life.
That's
You
right.
had no idea.
That's right.
And I was also
Mm.
trying to say about things that I didn't think that I could do when I was performing, and I was performing and I had these great musicians, and I was
Mm.
like, God, I can't do this because these musicians was a musician for Diana Ross and for
Mm.
all these great people. And I'm on stage singing and I'm saying,
Mm.
they thinking I can't sing. And
That's
I
right.
was holding myself back.
That's right.
I've been I myself have been my own problem. I stood in my own way all
That's
these
right.
years. And
Speak.
sometimes we have to get out of our own
That's
way.
right. We certainly do. We really do. And then we want to make excuses because of the bad things that have happened to us. But look at, the bad things that have happened to every person, Black person, that you will know of that is at a point of success. Those close to you, who you deem as successful, if you listen to their story, they will tell you all of the challenges that they've been through. We've been promised that as you're doing God's will over your life, the challenges are going to happen, but that's your victory. 2021 is the year of the overcomer, not the survivor, the overcomer. Because you can survive and be stuck in that. You're stuck in survival mode. We're overcomers. That's who we are. And we overcome any obstacle that is put in our face. No, I remember when the pandemic started, and I said there are too many people who are home alone. I am going to stay the course on the things that I do. As hard as this is, as tired as I became at times, and even when I was sick, I still was here. There are times that I did this and I had the injury to my leg and I stood up here and I did it. I did not sit down. I was determined I was going to stand up and I was going to do this, and for, what I mean, for God's sake. And not just on not just on Sunday, but on Wednesday and on Friday and on Sunday, and God has healed me, through my faith in him and focusing on the service, on using our lives. It's got to be more than everything. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen anyone, and I know some of you have, on their deathbed. But you know how they go, somebody, nobody on their deathbed, says, that they wish they had worked more. No, that has to be, I don't know who that person is that made that, because I have seen many people in their last days say that they wish they had done more. Now, it might not be their work because they might not have liked their job. But when they are working in God's will and God's plan over their life, I know, even my father was like, I could do more. I could have done more. He is all about, and he was in higher education and he had a commitment to the Black male and moving them forward. And I know that. And that's why you'll see me do the programs I do for Black men. It's for my dad. It's not because it's, oh, this is, no, it's because he's not here. And I feel that I have a responsibility to pull that on, not to get Black customers. It's God, the Black men, you know what I mean? Because no, it's because it's God. I'm sure that there are men that could do it better, but I have to use the opportunities that God gave me to do what God put my father here for, that my father said on his last days, he wished that he could have done more for. So use me, Lord. And that's something that would be the thing that would bring the threat on my life because
Yes.
of helping the men.
Helping them.
That means we have to do more. That means we have to do more. Because God said there will be challenges and we'll not like it, but we have to continue our commitment to live out God's complete purpose over our life, and that is to be fruitful in every way.
JB, I just want
Yes.
to say, and I agree with what Jenny has said about making goals, because I think the last time you and I met, that is a struggle for me, is to write down
Mm,
goals that I want to do. But
mm.
while you were talking and I looked at the book, I said, well, you are giving me a start because I can use these 10 principles as a
Amen.
guide. And I just
Mm.
want to say this here: when you were talking about Black health and Black wealth, I don't know if anybody saw that video of Dr. Susan Moore, who died
Mm.
I
in the
did.
Indiana
It was
hospital.
heartbreaking.
But what I wanted to say about that is that she died, and from what I read, she doesn't have I guess she died broke,
Oh
and
man.
people mentally think that you
Mm.
being a doctor,
Mm.
that you have everything, but I guess she was the only child, and she had parents that had dementia, and she had a 19-year-old son.
Mm.
So there was no financial plan, because they're
Mm.
doing a GoFundMe to help
Mm. Oh my
with her
goodness.
burial. So those are things that
Speak.
when we look out, oh, she's a doctor, and she was a medical doctor,
Mm-hmm.
we just think, they got it going on,
That's
or,
right.
just, but evidently she had the black, well, she had
That's
black
right.
wealth, and her health wasn't that good.
That's right.
I mean, so,
That's right. I
and I
see it
maybe
every
I
day,
shouldn't say
sis.
that, but
It's so
there
true.
was something that brought her into the hospital, and I think she had COVID. She was
Mm.
just talking about her treatment as a
Mm.
black doctor, and the doctors knew that she was a doctor, and they treated her so bad.
Yeah, they didn't care. They don't care. They don't care. They don't care. We have a physician in my family, and it. m- I've seen him one time. My parents kept asking my sister, the physician, about a question, and the doctor said, "Well, since you want to talk to her, you can just go home." And they sent my dad home. And then she was on the telephone, and I was in the hospital. But I don't know if I've ever told her that they did that. They said, "There's nothing else we can do here. Send my dad home." They can't stand it. You know what I'm saying? When you're sitting there like questioning and asking and why they do that, and you're, not like, and that's really sad. And so I can imagine how she was treated. And they're like, I don't care. I don't know. This isn't your hospital. This is where
Right.
you work. There's a whole bunch of doctors. You're gonna get,
I mean,
and
even
it's,
even the nurses talked to her badly.
I mean,
So
but
it was
isn't that sad? And then look, think about where the Essence magazine said a few years ago that the average net worth of a black woman was $100. That includes Oprah. So
Yes.
mhm.
even with Oprah
Yes.
in
Yes.
our
Yes.
Mm.
average, you still
Yes.
get to $100. Like, and
Yes.
what is amazing to me is that, like, that we're still stuck in this lost place, because like we're going to college and getting all these degrees and thinking that that makes you like wealthy in some way, and all it does is most likely mean you have more debt than the one that didn't go. In Baltimore, they did a study on on black people going to college. And even after they completed college, and this is in Baltimore, Maryland, the only a small percentage of them were actually being paid above minimum wage. Minimum wage. And minimum wage is not livable.
Right.
So I'm hoping
Right.
that Biden will keep his word and adjust the minimum wage to a livable wage. But right now, it's not livable. And we got college graduates, working at minimum wage and below. This is sick.
It
Wow.
is.
You know,
Wow.
and it's more likely to happen with someone that looks like me. We're less likely to have benefits, less likely to be making a decent wage, and more likely to be taking care of kids. That's a problem. Like with the doctor you were talking about, she had a child, then she had these parents, and she was sandwiched. She probably had a Benz, she probably had a house. You know what I'm saying? That's sad. All these payments. So you can look the part, but payments don't mean that you have wealth. And sometimes when you go out there and you get the degrees, it makes you more pressured to try to present like you have money. It's
Exactly.
really sad, because they go, because
Exactly.
you feel like you have to prove where
Keep up with the Joneses.
keeping
Yes.
up. Yeah, like they expect you
Hmm.
to have it. And I remember that's how my debt started. When I would out, and I remember people go, "Why are you still driving that?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about? Here I am starting my business." They're like, "That is not indicative of success." Here my car paid for and everything. And then you can get into that habit because the response that you get is so positive. When you have a nice car and all these expensive payment things, your response is very positive. Like people, smile when you pull up and stuff. And but I thank God for just one day deciding that I don't want to be broke. I don't want to be broke. And it
Yeah.
was like, I don't know, over 10 years ago now, but it
But
took
that's a
years.
mindset, and
That's
that's what I
right.
was saying about um peer pressure.
That's right.
It's something that
Mhm.
that I know when I first got out of college, and it was a struggle for me, and it just seemed like
Mm.
everybody that I was going to college with, it seemed like they had better jobs and they were just living better than me, and
Mhm.
it was just, to me, sometimes
Mhm.
it was just embarrassing,
That's
like,
right.
you still doing this, and you
Exactly. You went to
making
college.
making and they going on trips and
That's
seeing
right.
the world and everything, but but
That's right.
when you flip it back, now I'm doing things that they're not
Oh,
able
that's
to
right.
do.
That's right. And you can
Looking back,
retire. Yep.
yeah,
Mhm.
it's looking back, you think, well, maybe,
That's
I
right.
did make a good
That's
decision, but
right.
back then you could not have tell me,
That's
and
right.
you go through a depression, because I was depressed for a couple of years, just
That's
because,
right.
just thinking, they say you want to go somewhere, and I'm like, no, I can't go,
Mm.
and
Mm.
I didn't have any kids, but it was
Mm.
just,
Mm.
I could have ran out my charge cards, but
Mm.
I mean,
Thank
even
God.
though I was still struggling,
That's
I was
right.
just a person that liked to pay my bills,
That's
and if
right.
it was $10, it was
That's right.
$10, and I couldn't see out of that.
That's
So
right. That's right. Sad, but it happens all the time. And what we have to do as our families have to help us with that mentality. Like when I
yeah,
talk with my daughter, because she has that where I need the car, I need the car, I need the car, and I go, no, what you need are books and tuition paid. That's what you need. That's what you need. And you have to keep them. I said, and when you get a vehicle, it will be a decent vehicle and it will be a vehicle that you save up for and you're not going to have a payment, period. You know, that whole people building credit that don't have job mentality, that's ridiculous. You do not need a payment, but you need to have both parents in agreement on that. That's the thing, where she kind of has her father saying you can get a payment, and then I'm saying no, we don't do payments. But I don't want another generation of payment mentality. And
yes,
I thank God that she's respecting my opinion on that. But when you have the and a lot of families have that, especially when the parents aren't together. One parent might have one financial value, or they just are, because of trying to make up for things that they feel, so they create this materialism and they don't even realize what they're doing. But you need to be careful, the financially wise one in the family. When you see your generation behind you, save them, save them. Don't allow them to feel like they have to keep up with anyone else. Listen to their conversation, get involved, because it's I told it. I remember, like, the responses, like you get such a positive response when you're doing things or representing, when you're in that payment mentality, because payments will go a long way, but saving is not as obvious. But when you, as in the word, when it speaks about the ant, and the ant's doing that work, we don't see what the ant is doing when the ant is working. you know they're just doing their work because they know what's coming. And then that's what we have to do, and that's where we all are in our life. I mean, that's where we are at every aspect of our life. It's like not even over. When you retire from the career, you have to have goals for what you want to do after retirement. We have so many resources in our community that are retired, And that's to our that pulls us back, because we need, for did you see how old Dr. Fauci is?
Yes.
Yes,
I think he's 80 years old.
80. Yes,
You know what I'm
80.
saying? That come on.
Mm, mm,
Come on,
mm,
y'all.
mm.
And we're like,
Yes.
I know people who stopped working in their 40s. That
Yeah.
that's like 80 is not, I mean, like Miss Getty's like, yes, it is. But Miss Getty, like, given the opportunity, I know how wise you are. Like, you could do everything that Fauci's doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're healthy as he is. Now, granted, we're not given, but if I was like, well, Miss Getty, I'm gonna set up a series of motivational speaking engagements for you or something like that. If I was in that, you could do it. Like, people gravitate to you. Like, we're just not given the opportunities that we deserve. So now it's time for us, for God's sake, we're gonna have to start taking them. We're gonna have to start taking them. We'll have to start creating them. We have to listen, no matter what age you are, do it. Look at the two presidential candidates.
Hmm.
They were in their mid 70s. We're not as old as the world wants you to think you are. We have,
Because now
I
that
believe, I believe that the key to this is to keep that mind healthy and going.
yes,
If you keep that mind healthy and going, you
yes,
can go for a long time.
yes,
And that's what I intend to do.
yes,
2021 is my year. I
yes,
plan to do new things.
yes.
But
Take your strength. Take your,
nobody is telling these you know, you don't hear in the news, like the presidential candidates, you don't hear them, people say, they're 70, they need to go sit down and take, and
yep,
take care of something else. But you hear that for us.
that's right.
because they're white
You know,
men.
you go
That's
sit down,
right.
you're
Right.
overdue, and even like most of the cabinet people that
Mm,
Biden is selecting,
mm.
they're like, older.
That's right.
They're
Even
not,
like the lady, Janet Yellen, like is it Yellen? Yeah. She worked for Obama. Like, she's probably in her 70s.
yes.
You know what I'm saying? And she's gonna be over like the treasury or something. Like the no, they're yeah, we have to acknowledge that we are strong, strong people, and that we have to stop looking at our opportunities as in the government. But one thing I have noticed about us that work for the government, they're pushing us out at early ages.
hmm
They're like talking to us about, oh, you're at 30 years, it's time to go, but we have to say, no, that what is my plan? What is my plan? And that's what I said. You don't have to go anywhere until you decide you want to go somewhere. What do you need to create from this opportunity? What do you need your pension income to be? How long do we need to stay in order for that to happen? No, and then we get God's strength and direction, and we make it happen. Switch to a different department, something, that sometimes we give up on things that impact our life for the rest of our life. Mm. So some things to think about from a financial perspective, in closing, because I just want this recorded on here. So when you listen to this, you'll see in Proverbs 13:11, it instructs us to spend less than we earn. In Proverbs 22, verse 7, and know that in the book, in AfroEconomics, in this new in the members you can download, it has the Bible verses in the 5th chapter now. The spend less than you earn, Proverbs 13:11. Avoid the use of debt, Proverbs 22, verse 7. Building up that emergency fund, Proverbs 6, chapter 6, and verses 6 through 8. Set long-term goals, Philippians chapter 3, verse 14. And believe that God owns everything and God is the source of all things, in Psalms 24, verse 1. And let's close with this. I am confident that God has already given us the tools that we need to fulfill his purpose for our lives. This year in 2021, let's take time. So next year in 2021, let's take time to discover God's purpose for our lives. I challenge us to listen to God and acknowledge his message. In 2021, we must take different steps, bigger steps. For some, it'll be even smaller steps, but we must set a plan of action. And let's pray on this in Proverbs chapter 16, verses 27 through 29. Idle hands are the devil's workshop, idle lips are his mouthpiece. An evil man sows strife. Gossip separates the best of friends, and wickedness loves company and leads others into sin. Amen. I love y'all. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Love you too.
Thank you
Let's
and love you
continue.
too.
I hope to see
Blessings to
y'all.
you.
Thank you,
Yes.
JB.
Blessing to
Thank
you,
you. Blessings
JB.
right back at you. Enjoy your Kwanzaa. Enjoy your families. Enjoy everything that God has just wrapped you with. Take nothing for granted and be anxious for nothing. Mm, mm,
Amen. Amen.
mm,
Amen.
You can do
Amen.
this. You can do this. I'll see y'all Wednesday night and Thursday night for New Year's Eve. Make sure you
Mhm.
register.
Bye bye.
JB, what do you want me to do as far as the gift for New Year's Eve? Send that to you. Send your information, my information to
Yes,
you. Okay, I'll do
Pat.
that today.
So Pat will call you tomorrow.
Oh, excellent. Okay.
Definitely. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank
Alrighty.
you now. Bye bye.
Gifts.
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Baker wants to donate a gift for New Year's Eve. Beautiful.
Wow. What a blessing.
Yeah. Thank you. Good morning, Pat. Thank you. Got
Good
you working on
morning.
Sunday. Thank you.
That's
Sorry
okay.
about that. Thank you.
Have a blessed day.
You too, sweetie. Thank you.
Alrighty.
Wow. Amen. Sweet. Love y'all.